So I'm front loading this in the beginning of the video. Vevor did send this over as promotional product. I do end up going inside this. These are one of these electric fireplaces. This is a 36 inch, and I generally can't recommend it. I mean, the biggest issues I've had with it is, one, kind of an annoying sound coming from the motor that makes the flames go. I have to admit that it is pretty. It puts out a lot of heat. The second issue, and that's I'll get into in part the back section of the video with the teardown, is there were several stripped out screws, including stripped out screws that hold the main controller board to the chassis. And the worst thing is this panel. As you can see, I can't get it to fit. They misglued these metal strips that have these hooks that slot in. They're just a little bit too close together by about 1/16 of an inch, and that's just too much. I had to spend a bunch of time filing the slots in the body to get the darn front panel to actually seat down fully. Otherwise it has this gap in it. It won't sit down fully, and you can't put in the screws that lock it in place. And that's a big issue. Of all the problems I should have had, the strip screws in the body I can deal with, but with the front panel just being impossible to properly seat, without breaking it, no thanks. Anyway, I'll continue with a little demonstration. That's going to be an issue with any of these type of things. I would say that if you're going to get one of these electric fireplaces, I would try to find one at a local dealer somewhere where you can get it, and if you have a problem, you can just take it right back to them. Anyway, you can see that this thing works out generally okay, although there is some kind of oddball coloring. You can see where some of the LEDs are, the lights just hitting the front panel, so you kind of get these weird spots, and I think they could have adjusted those just a little bit better. The flames themselves look okay, and then of course we can make them all color rotate here. I mean, the front panel is so far away that the touch controls, oh, I got the power to go. Oh, I got it to turn off. There we go. The touch controls barely work because this is just annoying. Because the darn glass panel won't seat. Figured I'd show the color cycling of both they call it the carbon light, as well as the flame color here. Super reflective. Part of it's the mirrored surface on the inner piece of glass. So it's generally pretty, but they could do a better job with the LEDs. But once again, for as cool as these things are and as popular as they are, you should be aware any of these fireplaces, you run the risk of having some defect in manufacturing. In this case, the front panel not seating properly basically makes it useless, because you can't use the touch controls because it's too far away. And if you lose the remote, you're up a creek. And I was looking for parts, so if you have a problem with, say, like the heater burning out or something like that, couldn't find any parts for these. So, I would recommend a better brand. Anyway, on to the rest of the review video. Well, this is one of the issues I'm having. They glued this front panel, the metal strip was glued inappropriately. There, now you can see it. It just does not align. And I've been trying to bend it around to try to get it to align. And that's going to be one of probably the most frustrating things, because you can't just pound that in there because it's just on a tempered piece of glass. You put too much strain on the glass and it'll just shatter on you. And so that's real frustrating. They should have really made sure that these glued tabs were absolutely perfectly aligned, because now I got to spend a bunch of time. They were just a little bit too narrow. Like the one on this side was glued just a little bit offset. So you got to spend a bunch of time bending the tabs around to try to get it to fit flush so it'll actually slide down and lock into place. Catus Maximus here, this time with the Vevor electric fireplace. These are becoming more common as fireplaces are less common in houses. This is the 36-inch version, 1500 watts. doing the unboxing. This is a promotional product. They didn't give me a paid sponsorship, but I always thought these were kind of neat, and has somebody I think I'm going to end up giving it to. It seems reasonably well packaged, although I'll have to say this is the second unit. The first unit, something protruded. FedEx destroyed the box, went through the front, and destroyed the glass panel. So if you order one of these, you want to try to get them shipped to your workplace or something like that, or schedule it to where you're around so you can make sure that you get one that doesn't have the front panel make sure that it isn't broken when you receive it. That way you can refuse shipment. It's the easiest way of dealing with it. It was pretty disappointing. If the front panel is broken during shipping, you can't use the whole unit because the glass bounces around and gets all inside it. Otherwise, they do try to package it pretty well. I just suggested to them to put some additional stickers on the front that say fragile glass. They double up on these hard plastic corner protectors, so that's at least pretty decent. I mean, they did try to package this reasonably well. Keep those corner protectors. Now, this whole thing kind of comes out as one kind of, actually I think I can remove the glass independently. And that would probably be my advice. If you can get it out independently, it doesn't look like that's going to cooperate, so let's go ahead and try to. I see. You can kind of grip it by the vents in the front here. Come on. Like so. Kind of balance on the box because this glass piece is just going to want to fall over, which is, it's the most delicate part. This is really something you want to lie it flat, have somebody hold the box while you slide out the whole fireplace unit. Other stuff that we have in the box, of course, we have the manual, some fasteners, mounting bracket, remote control, more foam. It has these faux plastic logs and some little plastic beads for the bottom tray. And that should be just about it as far as this unit's concerned. They did try, besides the one block of styrofoam in the front, the rest of this is close cell foam, pretty heavy duty stuff. And really how these work is it's just a Tangeal fan, just a blower type 1500 watt coil heater in the top of the unit. They are all metal construction. I'll be opening the back panel because there's a bunch of videos about these and people installing them and building fake fireplace towers and all sorts of stuff about them, but nobody ever shows the inside of one. So I'll be doing that here. Once again, this is a 36 inch, but they make them all the way up to like 60 inches, 5 feet wide, so pretty surprising. All metal construction, touch controls. You want to be aware of this. This is a plastic light diffuser strip. It has 2 sets of LEDs inside it. We have one set here, which is for the plastic rocks, and then another set. This reflection panel here is actually a partially silvered piece of glass. The back side has like a red coating on it, and then it uses a secondary set of LEDs and then like a little rotating thing with foil on it to kind of give you the flame effect. Anyway, here's a look at the fake logs. These are probably by far the cheesiest part of this unit is these just plastic, gray plastic with some black spray paint to look like burning logs. Some people like them. For me, I'm not going to use them. Here's a look at these faux crystals that you put into the bottom of the unit. Let me get this piece of plastic. What you do is you put this diffuser. Let me get this. This diffuser strip has plastic coating on one side you remove and then adhesive backed. You stick it in here like this, and then you put the rocks on top of it, and that's kind of illuminates the rocks and kind of makes it look cool. We'll see that in a second. I was wrong. I assumed it was adhesive back because of the paper backing. This is just a protective, one-sided protective paper backing that comes on the big sheets of this frosted acrylic. tell you, this paper does not. It just keeps on tearing edges. It's going to be kind of a hassle to peel it. Taking a slightly closer look at unit, we do have screens. How the airflow works is it pulls it in through these two side vents and then pushes it out through the center vent. So it is nice to see steel screens. I mean, like I said, this is pretty much all steel made, which is decent. Has just 500,000 screws in this thing. Other than that, only other thing to mention is the glass panel. What they've done is they've used an adhesive to glue the steel strip to the back of the glass. That way you have a smooth front, although I wouldn't have mind myself. I wouldn't have been disappointed if they had a couple of through fasteners. You can't even see. A couple of through fasteners. They could have made them black. It would have been barely obvious, and I would have felt a little bit more confident than the adhesive that they used. Mainly because there's some, I don't know if you can really see that. The back plate, it's pretty solid. They put a lot of adhesive, but it just isn't quite flush and even. Anyway, how it mounts is it slides. It has these hooks, and there are special slots. And you kind of have to fuss with it to get it in there. But once you get it slotted in, it just sits on top. And the last thing to mention here is that there are these little eye holes here. These line up with some screw holes right on the inside of the slot, and you're going to try to take a long screwdriver and get the screw in there to lock the front panel on. But it's nice it has that feature to lock it on. That way you don't have to worry about kids or anything accidentally, lifting up on it or pulling it off and having it get broken or something. Surprisingly enough, it does have an FCC and SA certifications. The FCC, I think, is due to the fact that it has electronics remote control, so they have to do the radio interference certifications, otherwise just a basic sticker on the back. And the instruction manual talks about which components to place first, so that they have these lettered stickers A, B, C, D on the various parts and bags, so it does make it a little bit simpler. Anyway, I'm just going to show you the internals so we can see how it's constructed. Anyway, this thing's actually pretty rigid, even though it's made out of relatively thin sheet metal. They just have so many screws. Just this back panel has 20 screws. These 3 screws in the middle you don't remove because it's actually a kind of a support plate for the back glass. A lot of vendors don't like it when you go inside the units, but I kind of want to show how these things work inside and just kind of give an idea of how well it's made. Anyway, this is how they get the faux flame effect. You can see this piece of glass. This is a red coating on the back of it to kind of give it more of an orange tint. Then they have this LED bar here with various different LEDs. And then it shines onto this rotating bar, which goes all the way across. And as this rotates, it reflects in odd patterns to give you the flame effect. This is also something that you can modify yourself. Now, down there's our controller, or our touchscreen controls. Here's our actual heating unit. This is a Tangeal fan. The Tangeal fan actually just takes air coming in one direction and sends it out another. Axial fans just send air through. Centrifugal fans suck in through a port and then send it out at a 90-degree angle. But with lots of pressure, a Tangeal fan does not generate very much pressure, but it generates a whole lot of flow, and they can be very compact. So Tangeal fan runs through this coil. As we can see in the coil there, we have both a self-resetting thermal switch as well as an overload switch. So if there's some kind of terrible short or that kind of like inline fuse circuit will help protect it. So there is good protection. And we can see there, it's a SANY unit, 120 volts. 1,350 watts on that, and that's actually just a rating for the heating element. Its label says 1,500 watts. The overhead, it doesn't use another 150 watts overhead, but that's just to compensate for the motor, all the electronics. There's our brain box, which is a little bit loose in this unit. Turns out one of the screws was a little bit loose. You want to this is all in sheet metal, so you don't want to torque these screws too tight, but you'll want to double check that they're all warm. It does have fake fire burning sound, so that's the speaker unit. There's the power block for the power cord coming in. And so you can, well, you can replace the power cord independently of messing with the wiring of the rest of the unit. You know, all zip tied together pretty well. This motor that runs the faux flame bar, that is actually, we can see through the multiple wires, there's actually 5 wires there. That's a brushless DC stepper motor, so you don't have to worry about that really wearing out. Not a lot else to say. It's actually pretty well built inside. We do have nice little silicone boots on these spade lugs here. Anyway, not a lot else going on inside there. Anyway,